So everybody has been talking about the Great Locking, this 4-month period from September to December, where basically you're gonna destroy and let your old self die. You're gonna basically create a new version of yourself. So that's when the new year comes, you're a new you have achieved your goal. Basically, you've won. The problem is, I think that might not work for most of the people. Most of the people would not be able to achieve that. And the reason is that I'm not saying that people are just not consistent. I'm just saying that a lot of people don't implement sufficient system that will help them go through this great lock-in. And I've been watching a couple of videos because I really like that concept that you change your life, because I've also changed my life with cycles and different things. And I've also built that Dream Life Abroad framework where I walk through all of the steps. The thing that is consistent with all of the framework and tools that I've used over the past few years to build my Dream Life Abroad, all of those tools basically comes as a toolbox where you're gonna have obviously routines and things to do, but you also have something else that not a lot of people are talking about, which I think is what's gonna help a lot of people that are inconsistent like me, that have very hard time to follow a routine because I get bored. But you have to find alternative for that. So if you're someone that you can never stick to a routine for whatever reason, watch that video, because I'm gonna help you with some little exercise that you can do that's gonna make the biggest difference. Hi, I'm a corporate counsel living abroad. I've been living in 5 different countries, learned multiple language, and I am passionate about so many things. And on this channel, I talk about language, slow productivity, but also how to build your dream life abroad. I have upcoming soon a video on that. That's going to be 1 hour long, but I wanted to jump in to talk about the Great Locking today, because I've been watching those videos and a lot of things regularly come back in this Great Lock-in. The Great Lock-in is really this transformative journey, and I really like that approach of that, okay, you're gonna have to give up who you are, or at least the bad habit of who makes up the current situation that you're in, to have built all of those new habits, working out, eating healthy, reading more, maybe working on more project, being more creative. So you're gonna combine all of this and magically you're gonna transform into this new person. So I've watched multiple videos and they have multiple tips. The one thing that was very great, I think, was about to do an assessment. And this is something that I really recommend in anything that you do, is that you assess the situation. I've prepared also a readiness assessment for people that want to move abroad and they want to build their dream life. But we're not talking about that today. Today we're talking about how to make this Great Lock-in successful for people that are inconsistent by nature. So for people that cannot follow a routine. So what I've realized is that motivation goes into a curve, or like a ups and down. In general, you cannot rely on motivation to achieve your goal. So you have to find alternative ways. The first things that you have to do in this Great Lock-in, and then there's probably something that you've seen in a lot of videos, is that you have to design and to create like who you want to be, what habit is not serving you, what habit is going to serve you, what things that you need to do to achieve that goal. If we take a very simple example as, okay, I want to lose a certain amount of body fat. Like, I'm very data driven. I work with a nutritionist and she's always surprised. I mean, she's not surprised anymore, but she's always laughing about how data oriented I am. I'm a lawyer, but I love data. So what I've done is that I've tracked over the years my body fat percentage. So if you want to become like, okay, you want to lose weight, I think it's a great ways that you have a tracking method. It's like, okay, you can track your weight, but let's say you're tracking the body fat percentage, right? So you start from day one where you do your assessment of, okay, this is the goal that I want to do and this is where I am. And this is basically the gap, right? And this Great Lock-in is here to fill in the gap. It's here to implement all of the different elements that compounds together. It's gonna make the new you, right? become the new you or him. Now that you have done that, and that's like really in all of the video of the great locking that I've seen, they really explained that through. They're telling you that you have to make the habits. You have to create the habit. You have to create ways to do the habit. I think maybe some people even talk about systems, how to find ways to do that. But there is something that I've been missing in those things, is that I've learned over the years to create a minimum viable routine and optimize routine. So what's the difference? So the minimum viable routine is something that you have. It's almost like a threshold of the minimum amount of things that you have to do. And that minimum amount of thing should be small enough for you to do it, in terms of like it's easily doable, but it has to have an impact. Even if it doesn't have the impact that you want or that you need to achieve your goal, it needs to have an impact. Then you have to get the optimum, or let's say the goal, right? The goal routine. Let me give you an example with fitness goal. If you want to lose body fat percentage, there is many ways to do that. But one of the way is that, there's not many ways. There's two ways. You decrease your calorie intake and you increase your expenditure. But there's many ways to do those two things. But let's say you want to increase your expenditures. So you want to increase the amount of calories that you burn. One way is to walk, right? We all know that. Or at least if you don't know, now you know. The minimum viable routine would be that I walk every day 5,000 steps. If that's too high for you, because if you're doing every day, 1,000, 2,000, go to 3,000, right? That's the minimum. So it is something that you can add on, right? Then you go to what is the optimum, which is 10,000. Anything above 10,000 is like bonus sprinkle, right? It's like amazing, wonderful, great. You're doing a good job. But why you need to have this threshold? Because every day you're going to come across different problem or different events. Maybe you're going out, or maybe today you're sick, or blah, blah, blah. Obviously, if you're sick, you can't do anything. You're not in control of like if you can walk, if you cannot walk, right? But having this threshold allow you to be in the winning zone for a long time and keeping that motivation going on. Because if you go through like a routine, like a typical routine of me is like day 1, 2, I'm rocking it. Day 3, I'm like close to it enough. And day 4, 5, like I'm done. I'm just not doing it anymore. But if you have that threshold, like minimum, and then you have what you want to achieve, always aim to achieve the 10K. But then if you reach 6K today, you did the minimum. It's a win. A win is a win, we know. So that is very important to have. Another way to have this minimum versus optimum routine is, for example, you want to do your skincare. It's the same thing, right? Like I had issues with that, which I was very inconsistent with my skincare routine. Some days I will just like remove the makeup and do nothing else. Some day I will be like full on 7-step Korean routine, beauty, skincare, beauty routine, glass skin, whatever you call it. But I realized I needed to implement the same method. Have a minimum viable routine and an optimized routine or optimal goal routine. What would be, for example, in my minimum viable routine would be I wash my face with one foam cleanser. I wash my face with micellar water. I put a toner and just moisturizer. It might sound a lot for some people, but let's just say that's my minimum. That takes me 5 minutes, not even, right? Then I go through the optimized one, and the optimized depend on the days, because I'm not gonna do a scrub every day, but I might have to do it 3 times per week. So the Optimize has, okay, I do my scrub, I do the oil cleansing, the foam cleansing, I do the micellar water, I do the toner, I put the hyperpigmentation, I put the lip moisturizer, I put the under eye thing, and blah 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 blah. I do a face massage, blah 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 blah. That takes 20 minutes, right? So I have the 5 minute, the 20 minute. Basically, my goal is that the moment I step into the bathroom, I go with the 20 minute. So then I proceed with that. But some days I feel like so lazy, but I know I have the 5 minutes. So why am I being lazy? I can accomplish something that's gonna help me with my goal by just doing it in 5 minutes. I'm gonna give you another example, and the other example is nutrition though. So I'm trying to give you an example in like different areas that a lot of people want to improve, so that you can have a kind of guideline or like how you can implement it for your own goal. Another thing is nutrition. Nutrition can be like, I want to eat more like fruit, vegetable, or healthier. So my goal is to have like free meal, like perfect, blah 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 blah. That's like the optimized goal routine. In the minimum viable goal routine, it will be that I have all of my breakfasts will be like healthy. That could mean that I eat the same breakfast every day. So for me, I need to have more protein because I'm working out in the gym, so I want to really increase that amount. What I do is that I bought a matcha protein powder and a bubble tea, pearls, and creatine. So my breakfast, I buy this like oat milk, like hyper protein oat milk. So I have this at home. So every morning, I know I can wake up, have my bubble tea protein with the creatine in there. And this is like my power, like my jump start, like really like this is the minimum. Then on the days that I feel like I have time to cook or I have time to do something, maybe I go out for groceries and I have those like pre-made breakfasts that I can do in rotation, and I will have those. Another way that you can do that as well is that, okay, my minimum would be that I batch prepare like oats, overnight oats, and I put them in little container like that, like little pot, and then I just put free, right? Those are my minimum viable routine, because if I'm like waking up, I need to get out, or I'm lazy, I'll just take one and I eat it and have my breakfast. I don't need to think, I don't need to cook, I don't need to do anything, I don't even need to put something in something, I just take a spoon and I'm ready. So in all of the aspect of your life, you can create those minimum viable routine. I'm trying to find another aspect of a life, what it can be. It can be, for example, like decluttering, cleaning your house, right? I would say in terms of minimal viable product, you can decide that, okay, in my house, every evening before I go to bed, I make sure there is no clothes outside of the clothes bin, right? That's the minimum thing, right? And then you can have optimize goal oriented, is that I clear all of my desk and my room every night. That's ideally, because that means every morning you wake up, everything is fresh, brand new. But you can have just one of the aspect, which is basically no clothes around, and that's gonna be something that's really gonna make it successful. So another aspect that is really good to take into consideration is that you have to have minimum viable routine and optimize a goal routine. And the second part is that I would divide it, that 3 month or 4 month period, depending when you started. I'll post this video probably today, September 11. So the way that I really recommend is that start with the goal that is the priority number one, and basically this is how it's gonna make everything successful. If you start, for example, if the goal is the bigger goal and you start it early and you just focus on this goal, by the end, if the other goal fail, you don't mind because you've achieved your bigger goal. Let's say you want to build a bit of muscle, you want to read more, and you want to write more, right? Those are like, you want to read more, write more, and you want to build muscle. You have to think, okay, out of those, what is the most important thing? If the most important thing for you is to build muscle, you're starting today. And then maybe you're not reading, maybe you're not writing, but you're starting today. the most important one. Then after you've incorporated this new lifestyle with also your minimum viable routine and your optimized routine, then you ease into the second one, the second most important. But you can also do another way around, which is that all of them are very important, but maybe one is faster to achieve. Maybe it's like, okay, I want to learn that skill, but that just requires me to focus like 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, I can achieve that. In 3 weeks, I can take that exam. In 3 weeks, I can do that, right? So maybe do that, and then you have this kind of quick motivation burst. Because when you start winning, you want to win again and again and again. I think that's, how it works for most people. So I wanted to make that video about really those two concepts, because I think people are really focusing on I like how people are trying their best to help others to create their dream life, to improve themselves, and they have those step-by-step guide. But I think it's also important to think about the people that are just really not good at routines. People that are really not good at being consistent. Like, I've been there and I know how hard it is. And only when I start to implementing this like threshold, this kind of like in between these, like I'm doing great. I'm seeing progress at different level. What is great is that when you're using this method of threshold, it's like someday you'll be above, someday you'll be below. But because you're always in there, there's always progress, right? You're not there. It's there. And then maybe progress, if you're there, it's going to be like 5%. And if you're there, it's going to be like 3%. But 3% is better than 0%. That's the whole thing. So honestly, if you have one takeaway for all of your goals that you're going to put in your great lock-in, whatever like method you're going to use, whoever you're following, that's going to give you like, okay, what's the best way to achieve that? Think about ways to have this minimum viable routine, optimize goal routine, and prioritize your goal over the different weeks. Don't forget, also do like weekly check-in, or at least monthly checking on your goal. Because if you forget, and then it's gonna be December, like 10th of December, and you're gonna be like, I've done nothing out of the goals that I wanted. Take maybe those like every 2 weeks. What I do is that I put a calendar reminder, already put it right now, calendar reminder, every 2 weeks until 1st of January, you're gonna have a reminder. Put it usually at the time that you know you're on your phone, or you know that you're like not sleeping, right? Or for example, if you know you wake up at 9 a.m. every day, don't put your notification at 8 a.m. It just doesn't make sense. If you know, okay, I'm at work, but at 12:30 I have my lunch break every day, I'm sure. Or like, if it's every 2 weeks, so you don't have to think so much about it, but it's like every 2 weeks or every week, just put a reminder. I don't care. Just put a reminder when you know you have free time, and that you have time to reflect, and you have time to adjust, and then to maybe do a mitigation plan. Okay, that hasn't worked the past 2 weeks. It's not gonna work in the next 2 weeks. I need to change something. You cannot keep using the same thing if it doesn't work, right? Or you have to completely change your mindset, which is very difficult, or you have to change the method or the tools that you're using. So use those like every 2 increment weeks of like, I did my best, it still didn't work. What can I do? What can I change to make it work better next time? So that's it for today's video. I've also started a challenge, and I will start from the 1st of October. And I would launch all of the video regarding how to build your dream life abroad. And I think that is a perfect timing with the great lock-in. If you have this desire to build your dream life, and even more if you want to build it abroad, that is a perfect way to start, kickstart. And I have a step-by-step. It's going to be 1 hour. It's going to be full of tips. And then each section, actually, I'm going to make an extra video with more information on how you can do that. And most of the things that you can do is free, so you have to pay nothing. You just have to walk through the exercise. Like, it's really like exercise based. It's like you have something, and then this is how you do it. And yeah, everything is gonna be in there. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye.